And I think it's just laying that foundation of that biblical reasoning where it applies to any part of your life. Not, it carries over past the school subjects, like you were just saying. So what does the Bible have to say about any situation that you get in? And so you connect. This is the first place that I go when I want an answer. The very first place you start. And so when you teach that way and you learn that way, it becomes your second nature. And that's what we want. We want our children to look there first. And they see us doing it. They see us, you're talking about the preparation. They see us spending the time in the Word and preparing the lessons. And I think it creates in them a more character that they want to be diligent and to do the work because they know that we've invested time and they understand what it is that they're being taught.
You're modeling scholarship for them, aren't you? You're showing them that you're a learner, and because you're a learner, you're excited, and that transfers to the student.
And it's a lifelong event. I mean, learning doesn't stop when you graduate high school or when you graduate college. I know when I graduated college and went to work, I felt like my mind was just, there was no exercise there. And so it creates that lifelong love of learning. And it carries over. It doesn't stop.
Well, I came to the conclusion a long time ago that I think homeschooling, God had our family homeschool for me. You know, it has truly built my faith and has enabled me to think and not just walk blindly through life accepting whatever because so-and-so said so. You have the ability to, and the tools to think. And to reason.
So you got an education so you could give an education.
Yes.
Well, I think that you homeschool moms are my heroes to take this on and to tackle the principal approach and to embrace all of knowledge and then to impart it to your children. It's a remarkable thing and a very noble thing to do, and I want you to know how much I appreciate every one of you. I'm wondering about the materials that we've prepared and provide for Principal Approach, the Noah Plan lessons and the curriculum guides, particularly the lessons, which give you a weekly guide for what might be presented within a week in every subject to your children at grade level. In doing it, we've actually given a weekly guide that you break down day by day. But it does give you pretty much a roadmap to follow. It gives you the content and it gives you the student lesson assignment and what the outcome should be. How do you handle this in the home school? There's more there than I'm sure you can possibly do when you're teaching several children at one time. How do you handle that Noah Plan lesson in the homeschool setting?
Shall I address that? The lesson plan books are a tremendous help, but as a homeschooler it can be overwhelming seeing those 5 different subjects, and you tend to look at it and there's a lot to look at all at one time. So as I was instructed to take 2 subjects and master them first and then redeem additional subjects as I have time, that meant that I started developing history and literature. And when I multi-grade teach and preparing my teacher's notebook, I would use those lesson plan books, but I would take your already thought out lessons, put them where it goes in my overview, and I wouldn't just always rely on what the Holy Spirit had given the writer of that lesson plan. I wanted to impart myself in that lesson as well.
So you use it more or less as a template of what might be done, the methods that could be followed, and suggestions. I think they're particularly valuable in suggesting the principles that can be taught in certain content areas, the principles of the subjects, and also leading ideas so that you can truly base your teaching upon that framework. One of the wonderful things about the Principal Approach that I always appreciated is that it connects all of knowledge because we're teaching from principles. We build the facts upon those bedrock principles that are the truth that frame all of life and learning. So everything then becomes connected. And by using a timeline to show providential history, by using recurring principles in the teaching of every subject, or identifying even the principles of the subject, then we're able to structure everything in such a way that everything interrelates. It makes sense, it gives purpose, and instead of just having strings of facts that we memorize every week to take a test, now we're really understanding all of knowledge and how it all forms a framework of truth. So that's the thing that I always appreciated more than anything else, because I remember sitting in my algebra class in the 9th grade wondering, what does this ever have to do with life? How does algebra fit, and what will I ever do with it? So it's wonderful to have a purpose for learning, and to see the big picture and know that what you're learning fits in with everything else that you have learned, and you can reflect and connect. I think that is a great way to learn. It really makes learning fun, and it makes it purposeful in so many ways. The other thing that I love about the principal approach, and I hear this in the stories that you've been telling me, is that teaching this way gives you the ability to be very sensitive to the needs of every child, because every child is a unique individual. Everyone is different, and that's okay. God made us all unique. What is Rosalie's poem? God made me special like no one else you see. He made me a witness to His diversity. And every time you meet a new little student coming into the classroom, or a new child coming into your family, you realize that all over again. The infiniteness of God's principle of individuality. So we have to be ready then to recognize how every child is so special, and to be ready to teach to that child and understand who this little person is and what kind of gifts God placed in him. How does the principal approach make that possible?
FACE provides is the curriculum guides, which has been such a blessing to me, because I would teach the different type of curriculum that I used before, and you'd have the teacher's guide, but it was for the daily lessons for each grade. And so if you ever wanted to break out of that, it was very difficult. I felt like I was like a little mouse in a maze, and all I could see was the daily lesson. Whereas the curriculum guides that y'all have written go from kindergarten to 12th grade. You lay the scriptures down, you give the history of the subject, so you can find out how God used the different individuals through history, and that makes it so fascinating to see how God moved, and especially in math, to find out not just equations, but what was the different mathematicians trying to discover, what were they trying to do when they came into these equations. It just brings math alive.